You owe the HOA $150,000 in retroactive payments. Those were the first words out of a stranger's mouth as he barged onto my porch like he owned the place, waving a binder of documents and shouting accusations like some dime store sheriff. It was a Tuesday morning, just 3 days after I'd moved into my late uncle's ranch in Colorado. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and I was sipping a hot cup of black coffee when this red-faced man in a golf shirt and khakis stormed up like he'd been rehearsing the moment for years. "You the new owner of this ranch?" he barked, already flipping open a folder stamped HOA Compliance Enforcement. "Yeah," I said slowly, confused and caught off guard. "I inherited it from my Uncle Robert. He passed away last month." "Then you inherited his dues," he snapped. "This ranch falls under the jurisdiction of the Whispering Pines HOA. Your uncle didn't pay dues for 12 years. With penalties and interest, that comes to $150,000. I nearly dropped my coffee. "I'm sorry, what?" He tapped the binder like he was trying to break the table. "You heard me. That's what you owe. We expect a check within 30 days or we'll file a lien on the property." My uncle never once mentioned an HOA. And he was the kind of man who'd tell you if you owed him $5, let alone $150 grand. "Sir," I said, trying to stay calm, "I don't believe this ranch is part of any HOA." The man narrowed his eyes, turned on his heel, and climbed into a black SUV with a Whispering Pines HOA decal slapped on the side. No explanation. No paperwork. Just gone. I stood on my porch, stunned. "My name is Nate Lawson. I'm 34 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I was a high school chemistry teacher in Austin, Texas. Life was quiet. Predictable. Then my uncle died and left me his ranch. I remembered the summers the first spent here as a kid, horseback rides, bonfires, the scent of pine in the air. When I learned he'd left the whole property to me, I was honored. So I packed up, sold my condo, and drove north with my dog, Scout. The ranch was everything I remembered: acres of hills, groves of pine trees, a small creek, and a sturdy old farmhouse with a wraparound porch and a wood-burning stove. What it didn't have were neighbors, or gates, or any sign of a homeowners association. Until that man showed up. I drove into town that afternoon and went straight to the general store. Everyone said to talk to Edna. She ran the place, knew everything about everyone, and had lived in Whispering Pines for over 60 years. "Edna," I said, "do you know anything about this HOA claiming my land?" She laughed so hard she nearly dropped the jar of pickles she was stocking. "You're Robert's nephew, aren't you?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." "Then let me tell you something. That land's never been part of the HOA. Robert made damn sure of that. There was a whole lawsuit about it 10 years ago. He won. So why are they saying otherwise?" She leaned in. "Because Everett Monroe, the HOA president, has been trying to grab that land for years. Wants to turn the valley into a luxury golf resort or some nonsense. Robert stood in his way, and now he thinks you'll be easier to push." He couldn't have been more wrong. I spent the next 2 days digging through my uncle's papers. I found land deeds, tax records, court rulings, and there it was. A judgment from the county court stating clearly that Whispering Pines HOA had no jurisdiction over Robert's land. Period. I made copies of everything. But then something odd caught my eye. A recent map, hand-marked in pencil, showing new HOA boundaries and my ranch inside them. The date was just 2 weeks old. The next morning, I woke up to find workers installing a huge welcome sign at the edge of my property, Whispering Pines Estates, a proud HOA community. I stormed down in my boots and flannel, shouting, "Who authorized this?" "HOA President Monroe once said." I ripped the sign down myself, drove straight to the HOA office and confronted Everett. He was smug, oily, and smiled like he'd just won a poker game. "We updated the charter," he said. "New boundaries. Your land falls within Whispering Pines now." "That's not how laws work," I said. "You can't just move lines with a pencil." He shrugged. "You're welcome to sell. We have a buyer lined up." That's when I knew this wasn't about fees. It was a land grab. And I wasn't about to be steamrolled. I got help from a retired surveyor named Gus who drew the original property lines for the county decades ago. He gave me notarized documents, even agreed to testify if it came to court. But the HOA doubled down. They left threats taped to my gate, sent fake violations, even showed up with a bulldozer one morning, claiming they had the right to clear common ground. That bulldozer tore through part of my barn. I called the sheriff. Showed her everything. Sheriff Delaney was furious. "This is criminal trespass," she said. "You want to press charges?" "You bet I do." She filed the report, halted the construction, and told Everett he was being investigated for fraud and property damage. But it wasn't over. 2 days later, a tow truck arrived to impound my pickup, claimed I owed fees for being part of a community improvement district. The paperwork was phony, but it was signed by a judge rumored to be close friends with Everett. That was the last straw. I called my college buddy Tyler, now a real estate attorney in Denver. He showed up with a binder full of legal firepower. Together, we filed a cease and desist, a lawsuit for damages, and an emergency injunction to stop the HOA's land seizure attempts. The court hearing was intense. The HOA tried to argue their new charter gave them authority, but Tyler shredded their case with evidence: Gus's affidavits, the forged maps, the fake permit used for the bulldozer. Even the sheriff testified on my behalf. The judge ruled in our favor. The lien was lifted. The property seizure canceled. A restraining order was placed on the HOA, barring them from setting foot near my land. The judge even hinted at possible criminal charges against Everett for fraud. I walked out of that courthouse to cheers from a small crowd that had gathered: neighbors, ranchers, friends from town. Even Edna showed up, holding a sign that read, "Don't mess with Carter's Edge." I rebuilt the barn with help from volunteers. Put the old Carter's Edge sign back up, and every evening, Scout and I walked the fence line, watching the sun dip behind the pines. This land is my home now. My uncle's legacy. No one's taking it away. To anyone facing the same battle, stand firm. Know your rights. Don't let anyone steal your ground, not with lies, not with maps, and not with bulldozers. Because the moment you push back, they realize you're not just some name on a deed. You're the last person they should have messed with.